Lucas Morgan prided himself on being a man of integrity. At 38, he had built his life on hard work and dedication, tirelessly laboring as a project manager at a prominent construction firm in Dallas. His emotions oscillated between love for his adoring wife, Sarah, and anxiety stemming from the weight of financial responsibility. Their suburban home gleamed, a product of their shared devotion, and the neighborhood tinged with envy as their small, well-cared-for property outshined the rest. For years, he had invested not just his salary, but every ounce of energy into preserving the harmony of their lives. Sunday dinners with his high school friends, neighborhood barbecues, his life seemed a beautifully orchestrated symphony of predictability. But beneath this facade of marital bliss, a dark riptide was steadily churning. Unbeknownst to him, Sarah had nurtured a clandestine bond with her colleague Jake, a charismatic and ambitious younger man who had been stalking the outer fringes of their lives for some time. The whispers of attraction festered in hidden corners, fueled by intimate glances and stolen moments in the shadows of the corporate office. They shared conversations that cracked like thunder, igniting a fire that Lucas had unknowingly extinguished over the years with his relentless work ethic and emotional absence. The truth was about to erupt in a cataclysmic explosion that would unearth buried secrets and redefine Lucas's life. One fateful evening, while sifting through financial documents on the dining table, Lucas stumbled upon discrepancies he couldn't ignore. Credit card statements from extravagant dinners and hotel charges that matched with Jake's travel schedule began forming a trail that led straight to betrayal. A gut-wrenching combination of disbelief and rage flooded Lucas. The shimmering trophy of his life now stood tarnished, cracked, and ready to shatter. Clenching the papers tightly, he confronted Sarah that night, his voice an instrument of both despair and fury. The air filled with memories of love turned bitter. Each word exchanged became a dagger. When he uttered the name Jake, he saw the truth wash over Sarah's face like a tidal wave of regret. "You've betrayed everything we built together." His voice, usually filled with authority, began to tremble. Yet the vibrancy of anger churned beneath the surface. Sarah's lips quivered. The words escaped her. She spoke half-heartedly about needing more, as if passion and intimacy could be distilled into mere whims. As the confrontation reached fever pitch, Lucas declared war on the life he had fought so hard to build, setting tragedy in motion. He would not be the victim anymore. He would turn the tables. With steel resolve, Lucas schemed. He drew bloodlines across their shared financial life, gathering evidence and allies like pieces on a chessboard. Days morphed into weeks as Lucas positioned himself methodically. He contacted a reputable divorce lawyer, gathering paperwork that detailed Sarah's infidelity and their mounting debts. He sealed their combined credit cards, canceling their shared life with the flick of a pen. The weight on his shoulders began to lighten as realization settled in. This was not a fight for survival. It was an execution of vengeance against a once-beloved partner who had shattered his world. The legal battle took shape, one brushstroke at a time. Lucas had envisioned every move in this game, confident in his newfound strength. When he leaked Sarah's indiscretions to the couple's wider social circle, the fallout was immediate. Whispers turned into shouts, acquaintances turned friends. Amid awkward glances, the social strata beneath Sarah began to erode. The man who once basked in the glow of her popularity now cowered in the shadows of social disgrace. As the divorce proceedings unfolded, Sarah's world began to crumble. The elite lunches, the after-work drinks, all were slowly swept aside as her social circle shrank in the face of what she had done. Jake, the centerpiece of her dreams, began to feel the strain of lingering turpitude. Once he had reveled in her currency, the moment he met Lucas's cold, calculating gaze, he felt the ropes of his fortune tightening. Confrontation erupted at a company gathering a few weeks later. Lucas, bold and relishing in his power, walked into the room as the embodiment of control. Laughs fell silent as eyes peeled toward the couple, known for their glittering reputation. There he stood, with Sarah on one side attempting to feign confidence, and Jake on the other in an increasingly claustrophobic environment, the air thick with tension. "Sarah," Lucas's voice cut like glass, "you thought you could tear apart our lives without consequence." The room swallowed the silence whole. Lucas's calculated words dripped with disdain as he laid bare the truth of their shattered marriage, remarking on the betrayal, the deceit, and the insidious intimacy she had allowed into their lives. Jake shifted uncomfortably. He knew that Lucas's hunger for retribution could collapse their entire existence. As the accusations rang out, it was clear that Sarah had nowhere to hide. The laughter that once applauded her every triumph reverberated in raucous laughter at her expense. Friends turned into distant acquaintances. The energy in the room shifted palpably. The hunger for social justice was palpable as murmurs of betrayal echoed around them. Lucas reveled in the moment, savoring the power trip he had orchestrated from the ashes of his anguish. "Do you really think Jake cared about you?" He leaned forward, the venom in his voice slicing through whatever remnants of respect were left. "You're nothing but a casualty in his climb to the top." Sarah's facade crumbled, the once confident woman reduced to a trembling figure stripped of dignity. Lucas felt a profound sense of satisfaction, a shadow of the man he had been eclipsed by a stronger persona, one forged in pain, betrayal, and the thrill of revenge. It wasn't over yet. Lucas envisioned a scorched earth policy. With each calculated move, he prepared to deliver a final blow that would leave Sarah and Jake in the ashes of their own making. What was once theirs now belonged to him, a bitter triumph pulsing through his veins. As the confrontation at the office party simmered down, whispers and judgment cascaded through the crowd like a wildfire. Lucas was thriving in this chaotic carnival of his enemy's demise. Every sideways glance struck like an arrow. Every hushed conversation silenced the air around Sarah and Jake. In that moment, Lucas transformed from a mere husband into a dark avenger. With the chatter consuming the atmosphere, Lucas stepped back from the scene of his triumph, leaving Sarah engulfed in disbelief and regret. He savored the rebellion against the mundanity of life he once led. The realization that he held both the power and the ultimate moral high ground was intoxicating. Yet, this was still just the beginning. Returning home, Lucas began crafting the next steps of his retaliation. This was not merely about emotional satisfaction. It was about ruin, vengeance disguised as justice. The foundation of their shared finances had already begun to fracture, but he'd dig deeper to unleash the full wrath of his plans. He wanted nothing short of destruction. He arranged a meeting with his attorney, Patricia, the brilliant woman who had guided him through the maze of legalities. The coffee shop was crowded, but the air around them felt taut with the electricity of their shared purpose. "I want to hit them where it hurts," he said, his voice laden with determination. "I want everything." Patricia assessed him, intrigued by the glimmer of vindictiveness in his usually placid demeanor. "We can push for significant alimony and dispersal of assets. She's been hiding funds, you said? If we can prove infidelity, we have leverage." Lucas nodded, unleashing a dry smirk. For him, it wasn't just about money, it was about treatment. The bitter pill that would force Sarah and Jake to confront the full magnitude of their betrayal. He envisioned a healthy slice of their mutual assets and, more importantly, a permanent rift in their bond. Fortified by newfound vigor, Lucas dove headfirst into the art of espionage. He meticulously pieced together Sarah's spending habits, connecting the dots of her emotional affair into something solid and tangible. It wasn't merely about love lost. It was a comprehensive account of deceit, peppered with legal ramifications that would decimate her social standing and financial stability. Weeks passed slowly as the papers piled up, while he collected evidence, texts, and receipts, revealing weekends spent away from home and conversations where intimacy dripped from her words. Intimacy that was stolen from him. Lucas, once a trusting partner, became a predator hunting down his prey with unwavering resolve. He remained invisible, managing the facade of stability while plotting absolute annihilation through the court. In another twist of fate, as Sarah teetered on the edge of her crumbling world, she reached out for Jake, seeking solace in the arms of the man she believed would be her savior. But the tides had turned, and the love story was beginning to taste less like the nectar of romance and more like stale betrayal. The moment the financial implications began to resurface, Jake's ambitious veneer cracked under pressure. With mounting debts and the fear of being implicated in her downfall, he quickly transformed from loyal lover to guilty partner, leaving Sarah exposed and vulnerable. Lucas's chance for ultimate public humiliation arrived during their scheduled court hearing. Gathered in the austere environment of the family court, colleagues, family members, and friends packed the gallery, many knowing of the unfolding drama, ripe with the kind of speculation that thrived on devastation. As Sarah took the stand, her porcelain skin clashed starkly with the fatigue revealed in her sunken eyes. Lucas watched, reveling in the way her perfect world began collapsing under the scrutiny of the legal system. He could see the nervous tremors in her hands, and the desperate attempts to maintain composure, while trembling against the very foundation she'd once built with lies. Questions dripped like venom from the prosecutor, revealing not just her infidelity, but the emotional turmoil she had dragged their children through. Lucas provided evidence from unguarded texts, dissecting each line with surgical precision. "You told him he was everything I couldn't be. How do you justify that betrayal to our children?" He stood before the court, the tumult of anger and vengeance reframed within the parameters of reality and justice. A wave of silence enveloped the courtroom as tears streamed down Sarah's face, not from remorse, but out of sheer humiliation. When she tried to defend herself, her words crumbled under the weight of undeniable truths. I made mistakes. We hadn't been connecting. I thought it would be all right if I... But Lucas interjected sharply. "You thought betrayal was a solution. You shattered our family, and now you stand naked before what? A facade you created?" The tapestry of their life lay before them, a billowing mess of integrity gone awry. Finally, the gavel sounded, the judge's decision hollowing echoes of reality that struck cold against the walls. "In light of the evidence presented and the circumstances, I'm granting full custody to Mr. Morgan, with substantial alimony awarded for the upbringing of the children." A tumultuous applause rippled through the gallery, much to Sarah's horror. Lucas felt a mix of vindication and cold realization. He had achieved that which others deemed impossible. Then came the crumbling of Jake's empire, driven by unsteady alliances and fractured relationships. No longer the golden boy, he faced ridicule and shunning from colleagues who, in a cruel twist, began to treat him with contempt, echoing Lucas's earlier sentiments. The facade he had built unraveled, rendering him a man scorned, stripped of the power he had once flaunted. In the rush of celebration and conquest, Lucas approached Sarah one final time. The air thickened with tension as he stood before what remained of their shared past, her face flushed with desperation, hope flickering within those defeated eyes. "Please, can't we talk? I want to make this work." Lucas's eyes injected reality into the illusion. "You've already made your choice. There's nothing left, Sarah." He turned slowly, delivering the last blow. "All you will have now is what you've earned. A broken life, a shattered dream. This is the end." As he walked out into the world beyond the courtroom, liberated and emboldened, Lucas finally felt the grip of bitter pain release its hold. Standing tall, a man who had risen unscathed from the ashes of betrayal. As days turned into weeks, Lucas relished in the aftermath of his victorious court proceedings. He had emerged as a phoenix from the wreckage of his life, burning bright against the harsh reality that had once engulfed him. The reality of what he'd endured and accomplished lulled him into a false sense of ease, but his heart still bore echoes of betrayal that throbbed like an old wound. Yet, each pang of hurt fueled fire in his gut, reminding him of the storm he'd weathered. With custody of his two children, Mia and Evan, Lucas found purpose renewed. Adjusting to life as a single father was arduous. The mornings flooded with chaos, and the nights filled with echoes of laughter from once vibrant family dinners, now reduced to cold silence. Still, he steeled himself, determined to do right by them. But a nagging sense clung to him, heightened feelings of bitterness that clawed at the edges of his quiet resolve. He put every ounce of effort into rebuilding his daily life, crafting an environment focused on love and security. As he threw himself into carpool lanes and school science projects, the vibrant energy of fatherhood began to blossom anew. Mia and Evan filled their home with laughter and innocence, two precious jewels amidst the wreckage of his past. But happiness was often tinged with the shadows of what had been forsaken. As rumors of Sarah's struggles reached him through acquaintances, Lucas found himself in a moral quandary. She had lost her job, and whispers of her humiliation spread like wildfire. The same people who once praised her now turned their backs, reminiscent of a pack of wolves watching their prey stumble. Yet, in her defeat, Lucas didn't feel the same satisfaction he had initially thought would accompany revenge. Instead, he sensed a growing emptiness. "Dad, can we invite Mom for dinner sometime?" Mia's innocent question struck him like a bolt of lightning. Lucas mulled the idea over, the gravity of her words weighing heavily on him. Despite his disgust towards Sarah's betrayal, it was difficult to deny the kids their yearning for connection. They were still linked by blood, despite the tapestry of lies that stained their past. "It's complicated, sweetheart," he replied, his voice even but distant. Lucas marveled at the resilience of children. Their unwavering love for their mother stubbornly persisted, despite the reality of her actions. Complicated became a code word for Lucas, a refrain he recited to himself, a mental gymnastics routine aimed at justifying every decision. He wondered how long it would take for those painful memories to dull into mere echoes, and whether Mia and Evan would someday understand the magnitude of their mother's betrayal. On a particularly chaotic Saturday, filled with dance recitals, soccer practice, and a kitchen that felt like the aftermath of a food fight, Lucas received an unexpected message. It was a text from Sarah, a direct communication when he'd expected all ties would remain severed. "Can we talk? I know I messed up, but I want to make things right with the kids. I was wrong." Lucas's heart raced as he read and reread the words. The betrayal felt fresh and raw, yet there was a flicker of doubt. Could this truly be a moment of transformation for Sarah? Or was it just another play within her manipulative playbook? Were her intentions genuine? Or was this a desperate grasping at moments lost? His instinct screamed against engagement, yet the softer side of him, once filled with compassion, pondered whether there could be room for reconciliation. It felt like a paradox, torn between anger and empathy. He hadn't anticipated the inner turmoil that stirred. Understanding the need for closure seemed paramount, not just for him, but for their children. Finally, after days of ruminating, Lucas responded, "We can meet, but let's set clear boundaries. It's important for the kids." Time rolled onward, leading to their scheduled meeting. Dread coiled in his stomach as he arrived at the local cafe, the familiar scent of roasted coffee wafting through the air. The ambiance felt tense, layered with uncertainty and past grievances. Lucas could see a shadowy figure seated at a table, the woman he once loved, now a stranger adorned with the markings of regret. "Lucas," Sarah greeted, her voice tentative, almost shaky. She looked different, a far cry from the confident woman he had once cherished. The cracks of her past were deeply etched across her face, a blend of defeat and sorrow. "Let's just get to why we're here," he replied curtly, firmly setting the tone. Glimmers of sincerity appeared in her eyes, reflecting a stark vulnerability. "I've searched for accountability, and I realize now how much I hurt you and the kids. These last few months have been lonely, and I want to be a better mother." As she continued recounting her tumultuous journey, Lucas felt the walls around his heart begin to tremble. He wanted to believe her, wanted to think that perhaps her admissions marked a genuine attempt at personal growth. But the betrayal still stung and old wounds remained raw under the surface, scars that simply couldn't fade. "I don't want resentments to define our relationship anymore, Lucas." "Our children deserve better," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "What does better look like for you?" Lucas retorted, bitterness lacing his words. "Are you ready to put them first?" "More than anything, I want to try. I just need a chance," she emphasized, desperation coloring her otherwise composed demeanor. He took a moment, grappling between sympathy and the sacred promise he'd made to himself that he would not stoop to a place where her manipulation could reassert itself. "You've robbed our children of so much, Sarah." He watched her shoulders slump, the remnants of her defense crumbling. Lucas had expected anger, blame, or counter-arguments, but instead, there was a shared acknowledgement that hung heavily between them. "I will never forgive you for what you've done," he said finally, his tone firm yet resolute. "But they deserve to know you, every flawed part of you. Just be honest with them." As uncertainty brewed between them, Lucas felt a slight shift in his heart. Confronting past grief allowed a glimmer of clarity through the haze of hurt. Perhaps their journey would not end here in animosity, but evolve into a fragile truce, not gift-wrapped in forgiveness, but accompanied by the sharp edges of reality. In that moment, Lucas realized that while scars would never fully heal, the journey forward wouldn't have to be marred by bitterness, that there might be a different path, one lined not with dust, but an opportunity to rebuild. He understood the need for healing, not just for himself, but for Mia and Evan, who held their mother's love in remnants of childhood innocence. "Let's work together for them," he said, his voice steady, but devoid of certainty. "But understand this, I will be watching closely, and this is your last chance." As they concluded their meeting, the air felt heavy with unresolved threads of their past. But Lucas walked away with a newfound understanding of resilience, boundaries, and the fine line that separated redemption from retaliation. As Lucas stepped out of the cafe, the sun seemed to shine a little brighter, illuminating a path forward, one that was fraught with uncertainty, yet unmistakably promising. Despite the profound scars left by Sarah's betrayal, an unfamiliar sense of hope flickered at the edges of his heart. Maybe this was the start of a new chapter, not just for him, but inexplicably for Sarah too. It was time to rewrite the narrative, allowing honesty and accountability to shape their futures. Returning home to Mia and Evan, Lucas found comfort in their laughter. The simple joy of their company was a refuge from the complications of adulthood. As he set about preparing dinner, again entering into the chaotic dance of parenting, he wondered how to navigate this new terrain. Would Sarah keep her word? Would she truly step up as a mother? The following weeks brought incremental changes, awkward yet necessary, as Sarah slowly infiltrated their lives under the watchful eye of her ex-husband. Each visit was an exercise in balance. She'd arrive laden with small toys and treats, hoping to nurture the bonds she had neglected. Lucas observed their interactions closely, his protective instincts flaring at the slightest hint of insincerity. During one particular visit, he witnessed Mia and Evan gravitate toward their mother, their innocence basking in her affection. Lucas's heart ached at the sight, both for their longing hearts and for the woman who had once occupied such a revered position in their lives. He bore witness to past memories unspooling, moments of shared laughter in a warm family home, nights of idyllic peace. Those echoes clashed against the cold, hard truth of betrayal. Yet, as he observed the children's delight, he sensed a glimmer of resilience settling within him. At dinner one evening, a shimmering breeze fluttered through the open window as they settled around the table. Mia excitedly recounted the day's events, her eyes sparkling with the vibrancy of youth. "Mom, did you know I scored the winning goal in soccer practice?" She beamed at Sarah, who sat shining with pride, leaning forward as a proud spectator. Lucas's chest tightened as he watched Sarah smile, genuine but tinged with regret. He had to remind himself of the delicate balance that could either set them free or plunge them back into the abyss of betrayal. "Can we have a family day this weekend?" Mia asked tentatively as she looked back and forth between her parents. The question struck a nerve, rousing questions of their shared past, filled with laughter, but Lucas hesitated. The term family felt convoluted now, stained by the ghosts haunting their interactions. After an uncomfortable silence, Sarah quickly jumped in. "That sounds like a fantastic idea. We can go to the park, have a picnic, just like old times." Her enthusiasm, though genuine, triggered conflicting emotions within Lucas. Could they really recreate something that was broken? He shifted uncomfortably in his chair, the weight of indecision heavy on his shoulders. What if this was a ploy? A desperate attempt to reclaim something lost? "What do you think, Evan?" he asked, seeking a balm for his own worries and his son's innocent perspective. "Can we, Dad? Please?" Evan's wide eyes glimmered with hope, an expression that tugged at Lucas's heart. He thought of the children's longing for a complete family. How could he deny them that happiness? "All right," he finally conceded, though his voice was steely with caution. "We'll go. But remember, everyone, our family isn't the same." The family day arrived, marking a tentative attempt to reclaim a semblance of the past. They arrived at the park under a blue sky, laughter ringing in the air. Mia darted off to test her soccer skills, while Lucas watched from the sidelines, a mixture of trepidation and guarded hope nestled within him. As the afternoon unfolded, Sarah's laughter mingled with their children. She threw a frisbee high into the air, igniting friendly competition between her and Mia. Lucas watched carefully, his heart flipping with uncertainty. Could they truly become a family again, even just for a day, without falling prey to the echoes of the past? "Mia! Look!" Sarah's voice rang out, and the girls dashed after the frisbee. It was uncomfortable to witness, torn between longing and distrust, but Lucas understood that these moments were essential for his children. Later, they gathered on a picnic blanket, a spread of food before them, laughter echoing like tincture in the cool breeze. Lucas stayed vigilant, guarding his thoughts, but something unexpected unfolded, the buzz of familial warmth. Despite the heaviness of his heart, he could appreciate fleeting moments of connection that illuminated the shadows of their previous lives. As they settled down after lunch, Sarah turned to Lucas. "Thank you for letting us have this time together," she said earnestly. "I know I've made mistakes, but I want to be here for them. I'm trying to change, I promise." Lucas met her gaze, assessing the earnestness bubbling beneath her words. "I see it, but actions speak louder than promises." The words hung in the air heavily. He wasn't simply willing to forget. His heart had been fractured, and trust would take time to rebuild. In the following weeks, Sarah continued to make efforts, winding her way into their lives with sincere attempts at reconnecting. She showed up for school events, helped with homework, and participated in weekend outings. With each interaction, Lucas remained cautiously optimistic, bearing witness to the small changes unfolding. But old habits die hard. During a late-night phone call with Patricia, his attorney and confidant, Lucas expressed lingering feelings of doubt. What if she's just putting on a show? How can I be certain she isn't simply crafting a narrative to ease her guilt? "Watch for consistency," Patricia replied softly. "Change is gradual but real. You can be firm while allowing the children a chance to have their mother back in their lives. Just set your boundaries. Protect yourself, Lucas." With her wisdom ringing in his ears, he resolved to maintain a vigilant eye while navigating this uncertain territory. While Sarah's transformation became evident, Lucas knew she still had to prove herself, one day at a time. On a sunny Sunday afternoon, Lucas watched as Sarah decorated the backyard for Mia's birthday party. The balloons and streamers transformed their space into a colorful celebration, and Lucas felt an odd mix of excitement colliding with apprehension. The children were buzzing with anticipation, their shrill laughter filling the air, fueling both joy and the fear of potential calamity. As the party unfolded, friends arrived, and Lucas engaged in polite conversation, the tension in his shoulders easing as a genuine atmosphere enveloped them. Yet, whenever he caught a glimpse of Sarah, doubts hovered in the periphery. Will this whimsy weather the storm of your past? As children cried out for cake, Lucas observed Sarah's genuine delight intertwined with parental care. In those moments, she felt less like the pretense he had known, and more like the woman he had once loved. The children rushed to the table, their faces beaming with childlike wonder, and for a fleeting instant, he witnessed what might be. Hope nestled within the chaos, fleeting but real. Lucas offered a quiet acceptance, allowing himself to breathe easier amidst the cacophony of love, laughter, and beginnings. The journey ahead remained unclear, but for Mia and Evan's sake, there existed potential. Fragile still, but flickering brightly against the horizon. As he helped clear up the remnants of cake and decorations, Lucas realized it wouldn't be easy. Returning to a place of trust would require effort and mutual respect, both of which were still works in progress. But every change begins somewhere, and perhaps, just perhaps, their paths could intertwine anew, not as individuals broken by betrayal, but as a redefined family taking tentative steps towards healing. In the cool of the evening, as fireflies danced in the dimming light, Lucas caught Sarah's eye across the yard. Their shared expressions spoke volumes, an acknowledgement of hardship, acceptance, and a tentative, fragile hope for the future. For the first time in months, Lucas dared to believe that through adversity, they might forge something new, a resilient bond that honored the past while striving for a more promising tomorrow. The weeks following Mia's birthday party seemed to oscillate between delight and tension, as Lucas found himself navigating the uncharted waters of co-parenting with Sarah. It was both exhilarating and exasperating. Every milestone celebrated together brought with it an undercurrent of doubt and fear. Would she revert back to her old ways, or was this newfound dedication sustainable? As the cool breeze of autumn began to weave its way through the trees, he noticed that Sarah was making concentrated efforts to forge a meaningful relationship, not only with the kids, but with him. It was baffling. Sometimes they would sit in the evenings while the children played, discussing bills, schedules, and even the mundane details of life. These exchanges, while initially fraught with tension, began to foster a peculiar camaraderie. Yet, a shadow of distrust still loomed over their interaction. Sarah's attempts at sincerity often felt performative, and Lucas, although attempting to lower his defenses, struggled with the residue of her previous betrayal. He could not forget how her choices had wreaked havoc on their family, and a part of him worried that reconciliation was too precarious, a glass house ready to shatter at a single misstep. One afternoon, as he was poring over bills at the kitchen table, Lucas glanced outside. He saw Sarah with Mia and Evan, their laughter ringing through the crisp air as they played tag. The sunlight framed her laughter in such a way that reminded him of the woman he once fell in love with, the girl who had danced with him under the stars, who dreamed of building a family. He grumbled inwardly it shouldn't matter anymore. They were co-parents, attempting to navigate a shared existence for the children's well-being and nothing more. But beneath that stern exterior, a flicker of nostalgia caught him off guard. He found himself reminiscing about the warmth of their shared life before the betrayal. The memories of birthday parties, vacations, and late-night talks wrapped around him like a shroud, awakening something deep within, a mixture of yearning and resentment. A pivotal moment arrived during the fall parent-teacher conferences at Mia's school. Lucas sat next to Sarah in the semi-darkened classroom as they listened to Mia's teacher praise their daughter's progress. But when the teacher mentioned the importance of parental involvement in education, Lucas caught Sarah exchanging glances of urgency with him. Would she slip back into indifference, or were her intentions sincerely rooted in caring for their children? While they left the school, walking together as a unit for the first time in many months, Sarah broke the silence, her voice cautious. "It feels good, doesn't it? Being here together for the kids." Lucas nodded but remained visibly cautious. "Yes, but we need to keep in mind the lines we've drawn. I won't go back to how it was before." "I understand, and I don't want that either." I want to prove to you that I can be a better person, a better mother, she insisted, her voice steady and confident. I want to help rebuild what's been lost. Rebuilding takes time, he reminded her firmly, but he allowed a hint of warmth to seep into his voice. Let's just focus on the kids for now. As the days turned to weeks, the dynamic between them shifted. Lucas found himself enjoying the moments they shared, the easy banter that often punctuated their conversations. Still, he remained vigilant, ready to protect himself and their children if necessary. The autumn days began to shorten, and Thanksgiving approached, filling the air with a festive anticipation that felt both exciting and daunting. Lucas knew that family gatherings could be tricky. Would they attempt to celebrate together? Would Sarah's past hang like an eerie presence over the family table? Over the weeks leading up to the holiday, they discussed how they'd spend Thanksgiving. After hesitating, Lucas finally suggested, "Why don't we host? It would be easier for the kids, and it might help bring some normalcy." Sarah's eyes lit up. "Yes, I think that would be wonderful. I can help cook the turkey and we can invite some family and friends." But just as suddenly, Lucas's heart tightened. Could he truly throw a Thanksgiving dinner under the same roof as the woman who had once shattered his life? "Let's just keep it simple," he said, carefully weighing his words. "Maybe just immediate family this year." He couldn't shake the fear of opening the door for unwanted complications. As the day approached, Lucas busied himself in the kitchen, ensuring everything was primed for the gathering. Mia helped him set the table, her cheerful spirit capturing the heart of the home, while Evan ran in circles with the excitement of the holiday. When Thanksgiving Day arrived, Lucas took a moment to steady his nerves. Guests started trickling in, their warm greetings echoing through the house. Soon, their small abode was filled with laughter and chatter, the noise swirling around them like a protective cocoon. Sarah stepped into the kitchen in an apron, her demeanor radiating warmth as she juggled bowls of mashed potatoes and stuffing. Lucas watched her from the side, and although his instincts were to be wary, he couldn't ignore the genuine happiness that unfolded before him. As they settled in for the meal, Lucas took a deep breath, filled with an overwhelming sense of gratitude for his children and the blessings that had persisted despite the tumult of their past. They gathered around the dining table, the platters laden with food that reflected both Sarah's effort and the love woven into the family unit, even a tiny sprig of hope that perhaps healing was possible. "Let's all say what we're thankful for," Lucas suggested, glancing at Mia and Evan after a moment of silence. As the kids chimed in, their innocent reflections, weighed with the honesty of youth, enveloped the room. "I'm thankful for my friends," Mia declared, beaming brightly. Evan added, "I'm thankful for chocolate cake." Lucas chuckled, and Sarah smiled warmly. Hearing the children voice their happiness, juxtaposed with the tensions of their adult lives, stirred a feeling of peace. But as he watched them, Lucas felt a tremor of what might come next. When it was Sarah's turn, she paused, searching for the right words. "I'm thankful for second chances, for my incredible kids and their father, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to start over." Though her words resonated, Lucas braced for emotional turbulence, fearing vulnerability would lead them back into old patterns. He nodded curtly, keeping his personal defenses raised. Finally, Lucas stood to share. "Today, I'm thankful for our kids and the chance to build a better future. We've all made mistakes, but I believe it's possible to change and grow." A warm silence settled over the table, acknowledging the bittersweet significance of their gathering. The remnants of the past were not gone, but they now existed alongside the hopes for a brighter future. As dessert was served, laughter filled the air, bittersweet and rich. Lucas leaned back in his chair, contemplating the unpredictable journey that had led them here. The day unfurled with unexpected joy, yet masked beneath layers of complex emotions that echoed throughout their fractured history. And as Lucas gazed across the table, he understood that their journey was not about erasing the hurt. Rather, it was about navigating it together through acceptance and understanding. While reconciliation seemed a long way off, the laughter of children that evening rang clear and untroubled, a harmonious symphony of innocence that persisted against the backdrop of life's intricate complexities. That night, as he drifted off to sleep, a rare moment of calm in his usually turbulent mind. He held a fragile hope. Perhaps their family could grow, not from the ashes of betrayal, but from the seeds of forgiveness, lovingly nurtured into something entirely new and resilient. As the days turned into weeks after Thanksgiving, a fragile balance settled over their home. Lucas resumed his regular routines, but the holiday had sparked a different rhythm, a rhythm tinged with possibilities, both exhilarating and frightening. The changes in Sarah left him grappling with his own emotions, unsure whether to embrace this new dynamic or remain guarded. Each interaction felt like a step on a tightrope, teetering between hope and skepticism. He found solace in his work, diving into projects with vigor. His colleagues noticed a renewed spark in him, even as he wrestled with his personal life. Lucas felt a strange sense of freedom as he worked late into the evenings, unshackled from the burdens of distrust, though the internal conflict remained. Sarah continued to strive for a meaningful connection with the kids, and Lucas couldn't ignore the small victories. They would share dinners, attend school events, and even stumble through awkward family movie nights. Every time he saw Sarah leaning down to share a secret with Mia or cheering for Evan at a soccer game, there was an aching mixture of pride and resentment that gnawed at him. Lucas braced himself when Christmas approached. The holidays were notorious for their emotional weight, and he knew Sarah's vulnerability would resurface in waves. Would her renewed commitment stand up against the memories of what had once been lost? As December rolled in, they found themselves entwined in the jubilant chaos of planning a family Christmas. He suggested hosting again, an invitation to Sarah that signified progress, while simultaneously anchoring his reservations. "Let's make this a special Christmas for the kids," Lucas proposed tentatively one evening. "It's their first Christmas after all the changes." Sarah's eyes lit up. "Absolutely. I want to help. I'll handle the decorations and baking." The sincerity in her voice echoed with a longing desire to mend their fractured connection. Still, Lucas fought the flood of emotions that threatened to drown him, knowing the road ahead was fraught with potential pitfalls. As the weeks flew by, their home transformed. The scent of cinnamon and pine filled the air, and holiday lights twinkled defiantly against the darkened gloom of winter. Lucas felt the shift, a resurgence of warmth that enveloped their home. He caught snippets of joy shared between Sarah and the kids, and echoes of laughter that had once been tethered to the past danced freshly through the hallways. Yet, beneath the layers of festive cheer, Lucas wrestled with doubt. One evening, while hanging ornaments on the tree, he studied Sarah's hands, the care she took in each placement, and wondered whether this was just an elaborate performance, a seasonal mask, hiding deeper truths. In the midst of the holiday buildup, a message arrived, a reminder of the unavoidable legal entanglements still looming over Sarah. The divorce proceedings had been unrelenting, and the financial repercussions weighed heavily above their heads. As Lucas laid awake one night, the once dominant worries resurfaced. Would Sarah take advantage of this fragile truce? Would her renewed commitment to the children turn into yet another betrayal? As Christmas approached, Lucas decided to address the lingering shadows. On a chilly evening after dinner, he gathered both Mia and Evan in the living room as he initiated the conversation. "Look, I know we've been having a great time getting ready for Christmas, but we need to talk about some important matters." Mia's eyes sparkled with anticipation, while Evan focused intently, a serious expression shadowing his youthful features. "What is it, Dad?" Mia asked, her innocent enthusiasm undeterred. Lucas sighed, knowing the difficulty ahead. "I need you both to understand that while things might seem better with Mom, it's important we remember what's happened. We must work together to ensure we're open about our feelings, okay?" Evan nodded solemnly, while Mia looked between her parents, sensing the weight of the moment. "I just want us to be happy," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Lucas nodded. "That's the goal. Being open and honest with each other is key. If anyone ever feels uncomfortable, confused, or worried, I need you to tell me." No one can feel left in the dark. Does that mean Mom can stay with us forever? Mia asked naively, her small face bright and filled with hope. Lucas exchanged a glance with Sarah, who stood off to the side, silhouetted by the dim light of the tree. Sweetheart, we can't predict the future, but we can take it day by day. For now, we're all working together to build a better family, and we're going to make this Christmas one to remember. Later, as the children scampered off to bed, Lucas found himself in a rare moment of introspection. Stepping outside into the crisp night air, he gazed up at the twinkling stars. They felt relentless, glimmering beacons amidst the darkness, inviting him to find possibility within the uncertainty. But a nagging doubt tightened around his chest. Just as he began to feel twinges of hope, the specter of betrayal loomed large. Could he and Sarah truly forge a new life together? Or were they forever haunted by the shadows of their past choices? As Christmas Eve drew nearer, Lucas busied himself with family traditions. He blasted holiday music through the speakers, baked cookies alongside the children, and planned the festivities with Sarah. He marveled at how life could take such drastic turns. Once filled with strained conversations, now echoed with laughter and joy, yet doubts still clung to the edges of his mind. On Christmas Eve, Lucas awoke to the sound of giggles cascading from the living room. Rushing downstairs, he found Mia and Evan already rummaging through their stockings, their eyes wide with wonder and excitement. Sarah stood in the kitchen, the faint scent of cinnamon wafting through the air as she prepared breakfast. "Dad, look! Santa came!" Evan exclaimed, clutching a toy. Lucas felt his heart swell at the sight. Children wrapped in unguarded happiness. Just as uncertainty loosened its grip, he found Sarah's eyes on him, and despite the past, he felt a connection forming anew, a moment where forgiveness felt almost tangible. Announcing breakfast, Lucas called the kids to the table. They gathered around, laughter echoing like the glee of childhood, each sound dissipating the weight of shadows. As they ate, Lucas thought of the true meaning of this day. Not merely the gifts exchanged, but the warmth shared between people. Later that day, they ventured to the local community center for their annual holiday celebrations. The kids reveled in the festivities, and Lucas felt a sense of camaraderie with Sarah as they aided in the joyful chaos. Together, they cheered at performances and partook in games, mingling with families from the neighborhood. As evening fell, the two settled on a bench outside while the children made new friends. The world sparkled under the twinkling lights, and for a moment they sat quietly, listenably enveloped by camaraderie. It was oddly comforting, but still, the air between them remained thick with unspoken feelings. "Thank you for today," Sarah said softly. "This is nice. I never thought we'd get back to this." Lucas shifted his gaze, caught between vulnerability and caution. "Every day is a step, Sarah. I want to see this work, but we need to remain honest with each other." A spark of understanding flickered in her eyes. "I know, I promise. I'm here for the long haul. I want our family to be whole again." As he looked at her sincerity, Lucas didn't feel the walls coming down, but rather the formation of a cautious bridge, one that didn't erase the past, but allowed the possibility of growth. With the laughter of their children mixing harmoniously with holiday cheer, Lucas clasped Sarah's hand tightly, recognizing the unfamiliar sensation coursing through him. Hope, a fragile yet resilient light, flickering against their troubled history. That moment, imbued with warmth and potential, lit the path ahead, and for the first time in a long time, Lucas dared to believe that perhaps they would make it through. As the weeks of January unfolded, the remnants of the holiday season lingered in Lucas's home, while the new year ushered in a cautious optimism. The weight of past grievances still perched uneasily on his shoulders, yet he felt a shift, a subtle transformation catalyzed by the changes Sarah was making. Despite the tension that had existed between them, they navigated the currents of co-parenting with a newfound determination. Each week, Lucas found himself more entangled in a partnership that offered moments of laughter interspersed with old doubts. What he had once deemed impossible, a return to a semblance of family unity, now flickered like a candle poised against the damp, wintry winds of uncertainty. Sarah had embraced her role fully, attending soccer practices and volunteering for school events, eager to demonstrate her commitment. Each time he witnessed her genuine interactions with the children, he was reminded of the woman he once loved, the girl he had imagined building a life with. Yet, this introspection was often bittersweet, laced with the fear that she might revert to her old ways at any moment. For Lucas, the evolution in their relationship was gradual. He fought the instinct to recoil into resentment, caution urging him to keep his heart shielded, leading to moments where dark memories surfaced unbidden. One evening, as they settled on the couch to watch a movie with the kids, Lucas felt a familiar war clash within him. Their family dynamic had remarkably shifted. As they shared popcorn and laughter, he watched Sarah whisper to Evan, who giggled uncontrollably at a joke Lucas had just made. It was surreal, a blending of past and present that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. "Do you remember when we used to do this?" Sarah asked casually, her smile tinged with nostalgia. Those words seemed to open a floodgate. Lucas felt his stomach twist at the memories that flooded back, the laughter that felt so pure before everything had changed. "Yeah, it feels different now," he replied, keeping his tone neutral. "Different how?" she pressed, her brow furrowing in curiosity. "I don't know," Lucas hesitated, searching for words that wouldn't draw them back into the past. "It just feels, vulnerable." A dark shadow crossed Sarah's face, awareness weaving through her expression. "I get that. I've been reflecting a lot. I know I've made mistakes, but I genuinely want to do better." The honesty in her voice tugged at something deep within him, and Lucas felt a twinge of sympathy for the struggle she now faced. "I'm still figuring it out too," he admitted quietly. "Sometimes I wonder if I can truly trust this change." They exchanged a look filled with understanding, the weight of their shared past resting heavily on both of them. Recognition dawned, flickering like a glimmer of hope, buried in the rubble of regret. "What if we tried? Together," Sarah offered, her voice suffused with vulnerability. "I don't want to be a reminder of your pain. I want to be a part of our kids' lives in a way that makes us both proud." Lucas felt a chill race down his spine, caught between yearning for connection and fearing further heartbreak. Trust would take time, but the possibility of something more was tantalizing. As January days moved on, Lucas decided to test the waters further. He took the initiative to suggest family outings, starting with a trip to the local ice rink. The idea sparked excitement in the children, and even Sarah seemed to glow with enthusiasm as they bundled up against the chill. "Have you skated before?" Evan asked Sarah, bouncing on his skates. "Once or twice, but I might need some help," she laughed, her eyes twinkling with a tinge of uncertainty. As the afternoon unfolded, Lucas saw how the ice brought them together, forging connections through flailing attempts to stay upright. Each stumble elicited laughter, the kind that wove bonds rather than fractured them. Lucas caught glimpses of genuine moments, watching Sarah lift Evan up, smiling down at him as if he were her whole world. At one point, when Mia fell, Lucas rushed to her side. "You okay, sweetheart?" He pulled her into a comforting embrace while Sarah skated over. "It looks like you tried to take a leap." Mia giggled through tears, reassured by her father's presence. I just wanted to spin like you did." "Give it time," Sarah chimed in, brushing a strand of hair from Mia's face. "You'll be swirling like a pro soon." The familial warmth radiating in that moment enveloped them all, a vivid reminder of the bonds they were attempting to heal. The laughter hung thick in the air, slicing through the past tension like a knife, a shared experience that momentarily washed their worries away. As they left the rink, Lucas felt invigorated, buoyed by the collective joy they had forged as a family, even amidst the uncertainty looming. But it wouldn't be long before his old fears resurfaced. In the following weeks, Sarah continued to impress Lucas with her level of engagement. From homemade dinners to heartfelt conversations, she appeared committed to rebuilding trust and connection. Yet Lucas was haunted by the whispers of doubt that tantalized his mind. Were her efforts genuine, or merely a cover for some ulterior motive? One evening in February, Lucas stood in the kitchen preparing dinner when he received an unexpected call from Sarah. "Hey, can you come to the office?" she requested, her tone urgent. "Why? What's wrong?" he inquired, worry creeping in. "I need to talk to you about something important. Please." His heart dropped as he raced to her workplace, panic rising with each passing moment. When he arrived, he found Sarah waiting outside the building, an expression of unrest gracing her features. "What's going on?" Lucas asked, trying to mask his own anxieties. She stepped closer, her voice a whisper as she revealed, "It's about Jake." The name landed like a bombshell. The memories rushed back like a tidal wave. "What about him?" Lucas demanded, heartbeat hammering. "He reached out to me," she said, visible discomfort seeping into her words. "He wants to talk. He claims he has something to say that would change everything." Lucas felt a rush of anger mixed with disbelief. "Is this some sort of sick joke? After everything?" "No, I swear it's not," Sarah pleaded, her palms raised as if in surrender. "I want to be forthright with you. He said he needed to take responsibility for what happened. I don't even know what that means, but he made me feel trapped in everything, like I owe him an explanation or something. Why would you even entertain that?" Lucas's voice was steely, but underneath was a swell of vulnerability. "Have you forgotten? He's the reason why our lives fell apart. I know, but it's complicated. He represents a part of my past I wish I could just leave behind. I can't ignore that he reached out. I feel guilty." "Guilty? For what?" "For letting him back into your life?" Lucas demanded, insecurities laced through his voice. No. You're not understanding," she said adamantly. "He's not here to try to rekindle anything. He just wants some form of closure. To apologize." A bubble of silence hung in the air between them, raw tension coating every word. "So, what do you want to do about this?" Lucas ground out, his vulnerability twisting into anxiety. "I don't know," she replied softly, tears brimming in her eyes. "Maybe I should meet with him, just to hear him out, nothing more." "That sounds like a terrible idea," Lucas snapped, feeling his insides churn. "You think letting him back into your life, even for a moment, will help you move forward?" "This is exactly what I feared." "Lucas, please, I'm not trying to hurt you. You have to understand. I don't want him back, but I can't change the past. I have to confront it to truly move on." This confrontation sent Lucas spiraling, a riptide of frustration and hurt consuming him. The old wounds felt as fresh as they once had been. Nothing he had worked for felt stable anymore. The threat of betrayal loomed ominously. With an exhale, Lucas turned away from her. "This isn't just about your past conversations, Sarah. It's about our family. What if he manipulates this? I can't go through that again." Silence hung heavy, a chasm widening between them as Lucas fought back the flood of emotions threatening to overwhelm him. He could see where this could lead, could sense the familiar darkness looming ahead. Finally, Lucas paced away, ache curling around him. "I need time to think about everything. I want to believe in this change, but it's hard to see it. This is different." "Please, you're not seeing the full story." Sarah's voice wavered with desperation. "Maybe I'm not, but you're inviting chaos back in." Lucas knew he needed space to process what had just unfolded, to sift through the flickering echoes of both past pain and the hope they had slowly begun to resurrect. The air between Lucas and Sarah crackled with unresolved tension after their confrontation about Jake. Each subsequent moment felt like a balancing act, their interactions painstakingly tethered to the fragile truce they had established. Lucas's heart raced with every thought that fluttered through his mind. The fear that Sarah's reunion with her past might lead them back into the shadows of betrayal gnawed at him relentlessly. As days blurred into a cacophony of uncertainty, Lucas found himself pushing through daily life with the weight of lingering anxiety. He sought solace in his work, throwing himself into projects as a distraction, but the nagging apprehension remained stubbornly at the forefront of his thoughts. At home, Sarah was quieter than usual. her internal conflict evident. Lucas could sense her turmoil as she tried to navigate the duality of her past and present. The kids remained blissfully unaware of the storm that was brewing under the surface, and Lucas fought to maintain a sense of normalcy for their sake. He put on a brave face, engaging in their routines while battling his inner demons. That evening, while preparing dinner, he felt the beads of sweat dotting his forehead, his thoughts swirling chaotically. He stared at the stove, trying to keep his focus on the cooking, but each stirring of the pot only served as a reminder of the churning emotions within him. Suddenly, he needed clarity, so he reached for his phone, intending to consult Patricia, his attorney and confidant, for her insight. "Hello," she answered, the warmth of her voice a welcome respite from the tension in his home. "Patricia, I'm struggling. Sarah told me that Jake reached out, and it's consuming me," Lucas admitted, his voice heavy with a mix of vulnerability and anger. "Have you talked to her about it?" she asked, her tone steady. "I confronted her, but I can't shake the feeling that it's a slippery slope. What if she wavers? I can't go through that pain again," he confessed, his frustration palpable. "Lucas, remember, it's about setting healthy boundaries. It's okay to express your concerns to her. You need to ensure your emotional safety and that of the kids." "Easy for you to say," Lucas muttered. "You're not the one facing a potential relapse into chaos." "You're right, and it's clear the situation is complex. However, your voice matters. Don't shy away from expressing how her decision could affect you and the children. Emotional honesty will go a long way," she reasoned. He sighed, feeling somewhat lighter even amid the turmoil. "I'll try. Thanks, Patricia." After ending the call, Lucas leaned against the counter, taking a deep breath. His mind echoed with her advice as he steeled himself to approach Sarah with pointed clarity. He wanted to voice his concerns, not as accusations, but as an expression of feelings born of past wounds. In doing so, he hoped to establish transparency built upon their delicate truce. When Sarah returned home, her eyes reflected the conflict she harbored within. Lucas could feel the heaviness sitting between them as he cleared his throat to break the silence. "Can we talk?" he began, glancing at the floor for a moment to gather strength. "Of course," she replied, her voice steady but with an edge of uncertainty. "About Jake," Lucas said, taking a deep breath. "I know that meeting him feels like a step towards closure for you, but I need you to understand how I feel about it." "I get it," Sarah interjected quickly, "but it's important for me to address my past. I can't afford to be haunted by it." "Haunted?" Lucas's voice rose slightly. "You mean to say you're willing to engage with him for the sake of closure, yet you risk opening wounds that could harm us? You're risking everything we've worked for, everything we've reestablished. It's complicated enough already. I don't want to bring harm to us." "I swear, I'm not trying to hurt our family," she countered, her voice rising in exasperation. "But if I can't have that conversation, how can I let go of what happened? It doesn't mean I want him back in my life. What if he sweet-talks you? What if he tries to manipulate you?" Lucas volleyed back, his breathing growing shallow. "You have a responsibility to us now, to our kids. This isn't just about you confronting your past. It's about us moving forward as a family." "Moving forward? How can we do that when there's an unresolved tension with my past?" she shot back, her voice trembling. "Resolve it in a way that doesn't jeopardize everything," Lucas insisted. "We need to safeguard our family first. You don't owe him closure of any sort, and I won't sit idly by while you entertain this possibility." Silence hung between them, thick and suffocating, as they exchanged battling glances. Lucas felt anger rising in him, struggling with the fear of vulnerability that clawed at his insides. He yearned to protect the emerging harmony they were crafting, not to mention their children who longed for stability. "You're right. I know you're right," Sarah finally conceded quietly, tears brimming in her eyes. "I'm sorry. He's a reminder of a dark time, but that's something I need to face on my own. You deserve to know that." "You're doing what you think is necessary," Lucas said, his voice softening. "But where does that leave us? We're just beginning to rebuild. I can't let history repeat itself. You mean too much to me." A deep silence enveloped them, filled with the weight of their shared struggles and the pain they had both endured. As she wiped away tears, Lucas drew closer, softening his stance. I want to trust you, Sarah. I want to believe in this new beginning. You have to understand, my love for you is still there, but so is my fear. I promise. I'll be careful, she murmured. I don't want anything to jeopardize what we're building. You and the kids are my priority. Forever. That moment of understanding stretched across the room like a tether, an acknowledgement of the commitment they both needed to uphold in order to heal. As incredible as it felt to acknowledge their progress, Lucas couldn't shake the unease of what lay ahead. In the following days, they gently navigated back into their routine. But the shadows of that confrontation lingered, a reminder of the very real risks they faced. The moments of joy spent cooking, laughing, and enjoying family time became steeled with an unspoken vigilance, an emotional shield against the fragility that insecurity sometimes breached. They prepared for an upcoming family weekend trip to the lake, a retreat they had planned before the tension spiraled. Suddenly, the beauty of nature felt like a necessary escape, one that could provide rejuvenation and solace for their hearts. As they rolled into the cabin that Friday evening, Lucas felt a wave of serenity wash over him. The majestic pines towered around them, whispering comfort into the air. It felt like a fresh start, a separation from the world where they could begin again, unobstructed. That night, they gathered around a campfire, the warmth of the flames flickering between them. Laughter erupted among the children as they toasted marshmallows under the starlit sky. Lucas watched Sarah interact with the kids, a veil lifting with each genuine connection that blossomed before his eyes. He realized that, even amidst the uncertainties, there was a beautiful resilience forming within their family. "Look, Dad, I caught a shooting star," Mia exclaimed, eyes wide with wonder. "Make a wish," Lucas encouraged, intrigued by the childlike magic that enveloped them. As they shared the moment, Lucas caught Sarah's eye. She smiled softly, the kind of look that conveyed gratitude and a shared understanding of what it took to navigate the complexities of their journey. Later, as the stars twinkled brightly above, Lucas felt the grip of doubt begin to loosen. Perhaps with the right amount of effort, they could forge ahead, finding a piece of solace amid the uncertainty. Maybe their love was resilient enough to mend the frayed edges that once threatened to destroy them. As the fire burned low, Lucas felt the warmth envelop him, embracing the possibility that even after the darkest of nights, there lay a radiant dawn just ahead. For now, they were exactly where they needed to be. In that moment, they were together, building anew. The lake trip proved to be a turning point for Lucas and Sarah, a brief respite where laughter echoed amid the tranquility of nature. Their children reveled in the freedom that came with exploring the outdoors, running through the woods, their cries of joy mingling with the sound of rustling leaves and trickling water. Each day unfolded like a chapter in a storybook, filled with smiles, s'mores, and shared tales under the canopy of stars. In the mornings, they shared breakfast as a family, pancakes flipping with laughter. Lucas relished watching Sarah jokingly compete with the kids over who could eat the most maple syrup-covered pancakes. It was a slice of joy he had longed for, the kind that felt both nostalgic and fresh, igniting feelings he thought had faded when the fabric of their family had unraveled. One evening, as dusk painted the sky in hues of amber and violet, Sarah and Lucas found themselves sitting on the cabin's porch, the sounds of their children's playful laughter wafting through the air. The atmosphere felt charged with the warmth of firelight, reminiscent of a candor that had eluded them for so long. "Tonight's the night," Sarah ventured tentatively, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "I'd like to share a moment of honesty." Lucas met her gaze, an intrigued curiosity igniting within him. "What do you mean?" "I've thought a lot about Jake, about what it meant, about his impact on our lives. And I want to assure you I've closed that chapter," she said, her voice unwavering yet tinged with vulnerability. "Coming here, being with you and the kids, I realize how much I value this life we're building together." The acknowledgement hung in the air like a sweet melody, causing Lucas's heart to flutter. "I appreciate you sharing that. Trust takes time, and as much as I want to believe you, I still need to feel secure in this, he admitted, a mix of hope and caution threading through his words. I want you to feel secure, Sarah replied earnestly. I'm ready to show you the effort it takes. I want to be that person you believe in, the person who loves you fully and without reservation. Lucas felt a flicker of warmth spread across his chest. It's been so hard to shake the past, but seeing you with the kids, experiencing this joy, it ignites something powerful within me. I wish I could let go of the fear. Maybe we can work on it together, she proposed softly, leaning closer. Being here reminds me that we are building a new foundation, brick by brick. It's about us, about the family. As they shared that moment on the porch, eyes locked in understanding, Lucas realized he wanted to journey forth. For this glimmer of possibility, he yearned to honor the commitment they were forging, not just for their children, but for themselves. It felt like a leap of faith woven into their shared experiences. Later that night, as they all gathered around the campfire, Lucas felt a sense of serenity wash over him. As the flames danced, so did the laughter of the children, their faces illuminated and alive with excitement. He watched them, seeing in their innocence the spirit of resilience, creating a safe space, embracing the warmth of the moment while letting go of earlier fears. Somewhere in the quiet corners of his heart, Lucas acknowledged that healing didn't erase the past. It transformed it, forged it into something that could become a tool for strength rather than a weapon for sorrow. The next morning graced them with a beautiful sunrise, a spectacle that painted the sky in brilliant colors. Lucas roused the kids and Sarah joined them outside, wrapped in a cozy sweater, her hair tousled with sleep. The moment felt sacred as they watched the sun rise together, a beacon of not just a new day, but of what it could symbolize for their fragmented family. How about we go for a hike, Lucas suggested, a spontaneous burst of enthusiasm, catching the kids' attention. Can we see if there are any cool animals? Evan perked up, eyes wide with excitement. Yes, let's find some, Mia chimed in, bouncing with eagerness. All right, but stay close. We don't want to wander too far, Lucas cautioned, casting a sideways glance at Sarah. She met his gaze. There was a shared understanding of the path they were choosing. The hike turned into an adventure, a blend of exploration and connection, where laughter blended with the rustling leaves and chirping birds, a symphony complementing the echoes of their hearts. They climbed hills and traversed trails, sharing stories and weaving memories into the backdrop of the great outdoors. During one pause along the trail, as they rested beneath the shade of towering pines, Lucas reflected on how much had changed. You all did so well today. I'm proud of us, he declared, smiling at Mia and Evan. Can we come here every year? Evan asked eagerly, glancing from Lucas to Sarah. Absolutely. This place is special, Sarah grinned, her gaze lingering on the children, radiating warmth. As they continued their hike, Lucas's heart swelled. It struck him that their journey together would not solely depend on letting go of the past, but rather on nurturing their present. He realized that both he and Sarah had to be diligent in forging a future founded on honesty and closeness. That evening, as they cozied up by the fire, Lucas took a moment to vocalize his appreciation. You know, I've enjoyed every minute of this trip. It's reminded me of why I love having you and the kids in my life. Me too, Sarah replied softly, her voice suffused with warmth, eliciting a blush from her cheeks. I can't imagine going back to how things were before. I want to continue being the partner and mother that can be there for you both. With her words, Lucas felt a shift, a degree of comfort rising like a tide. He reached over and took her hand in his, their fingers intertwining, signaling a desire to move forward together. Days passed, and though the satisfaction of their time at the lake faded into memory, it left behind a sturdy imprint of hope and clarity. As they returned home, Lucas felt stronger, the rigidity of his fears softening with each reassuring moment they spent together. Back in their daily lives, the challenges of blending their existing worlds remained, but now they approached them as allies rather than adversaries. They united under a shared commitment to creating a consistent narrative for Mia and Evan, embracing the inherent difficulties of co-parenting, without letting the ghosts of the past haunt them. One evening, as they snuggled on the couch watching a movie, Lucas turned to Sarah and asked, "Are you still considering meeting with Jake?" "I don't think it's necessary anymore," she answered, her tone thoughtful. "The more I focus on us, the less energy I have for that part of my life. I realize now that the closure I sought lies in the present." Lucas nodded, feeling the breadth of what she had just said. The realization that they could redefine the boundaries of their past while forging ahead gave him immense relief. "I want this. I want us." With those words, the tension that had previously clung to the edges of their relationship began to dissipate, and in its place blossomed a newfound sense of hope, a shared commitment to keeping the delicate threads of their rebuilt family intact. As they navigated the complexities of their lives, Lucas felt deeply grateful for the persistent determination to move forward. With each step, they were learning to appreciate the beauty of second chances, the strength that emerged from vulnerability, and the power of a future built on love, resilience, and mutual respect. Perhaps rebuilding together wasn't merely about erasing the past, but rather using it to cultivate deeper connections. In that, Lucas felt a rush of warmth wash over him, a comforting affirmation that this journey, although fraught with uncertainty, was one worth taking. Each day was a new beginning, and for the first time in a long while, it truly felt like hope was blossoming within their lives.